Welcome everybody to another Friday class. I am excited to have you here. My name is Mapuana. I will be the host for today. If you are the kind of person who wants to improve their health with natural solutions and remedies, then you are in the right place. Every Friday, I open up my Zoom so that like-minded people in the doTERRA community can come together and inspire one another with ideas. We talk about all types of things, and we incorporate doTERRA into our life, into our other businesses, and we help ourselves and other people. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Today's topic is all about PTSD. But before we jump into the meat, I want to encourage you to use the chat feature. If you're new to our community, please introduce yourself. If you care to tell us where you're tuning in from, then go ahead and do that. You can drop questions there. We have so many experienced people here that will probably be able to answer those questions before I can get around to it at the end of our presentation. Use the reactions button on the bottom of your page as well, because that is one way to participate in the presentation and let us know how you're feeling about what we're sharing. So again, today's topic is all about PTSD. What is that? Post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm going to be really honest up front. This was not an easy topic for me to approach. In coming up with the outline today, I had some healing taking place because my family is dealing with the tragedy that took place last month. And here I go with the tears. We experienced a tragedy that we're kind of working through emotionally all together. And I've experienced post-traumatic stress in my life before with other incidents in the past where I have been able to not only use medications and seek professional help, but also incorporate doTERRA's oils, supplements, talk therapy, support through family and friends. And so all of those things are important when we are dealing or when we are in the heat of dealing with post-traumatic stress. But I did recover and I did gain control of my thoughts again, but it took time and it took patience. And like I said, a lot of support from family and friends. So my intention today is to simply bring awareness to this mental health condition and remind you that you are not alone. Whenever we experience things that cause post-traumatic stress disorder, we are not alone. So years ago, post-traumatic stress disorder was usually called shell shock or combat fatigue and was studied primarily in connection with military veterans, right? But today, the world has changed drastically. And I might even venture to say that everyone has suffered with some sort or level of PTSD post-COVID, right? So you don't have to be a soldier to be diagnosed with PTSD. You only have to be a survivor of a traumatic event. Now, the event could be anything from a war to a rape attempt to a car accident. A fact sheet from the National Center for PTSD in the United States put it this way. To be diagnosed with PTSD, an individual must have been exposed to a traumatic event, and this event must involve some type of actual or threatened physical injury or assault. So one dear friend of mine put it this way as she was recuperating and healing. She said that she had learned that sudden terror causes certain hormones to surge.
Check with him and see if he got the pictures. Check and see if he got the pictures.
Hey, Mary Lou, can you mute yourself, please, sweetie?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Thank you. Okay, so a friend of mine put it this way. She said, I learned that sudden terror causes certain hormones to surge. And these hormones cause the senses to become hyper alert to danger. And ordinarily, hormone levels fall back down to normal after the danger has passed, right? But in the case of PTSD sufferers, they remain elevated. So the event was in the past, but the terror of those moments seemed to be trying to take up permanent residence in her mind, even though the event of escaping a rape attempt had taken place 10 years ago. So PTSD has turned out to be a very common disorder. In fact, a random survey of 1,245 American adolescents showed that 23% had been victims of physical or sexual assaults, as well as witnesses of violence against others. 1 out of 5 of the exposed adolescents developed PTSD. And this suggests that approximately 1.07 million US teenagers currently suffer from PTSD. And that's not surprising, right? When you think of school shootings as well as bullying that's going on. So, symptoms of PSD can disrupt your daily life. You find it very difficult to function. And it may even include flashbacks, nightmares, insomnia, severe anxiety and depression, as well as uncontrollable thoughts about the event. So, right about now, a question you might be asking is, how in the world could essential oils possibly help with PTSD? Well, I'm happy to tell you that essential oils directly impact the brain's limbic system. You have a powerful tool in your home at your disposal. The limbic system is where the amygdala is stored. And this is the region of the brain that activates our fight or flight response, right? So when people have been traumatized, this is the region of the brain that is most affected. Essential oils act as a catalyst for healing from the perspective of a mind-body energetics. So now I'm going to share my screen and play a YouTube video that I know you're going to love. This is the acclaimed psychiatrist, Bessel van der Kolk. He's the author of a book called The Body Keeps the Score. And he discusses the widespread existence of trauma and how it manifests in our bodies. And so while listening to this video, I encourage you to apply a few of your favorite essential oils, and then be aware of how your body reacts as you're listening, okay? So let me go back to Zoom and click on share. Okay, let's hold on just a second. I am just gonna make sure that everybody here is muted, because for some reason I'm hearing a background noise somewhere. Okay, everybody seems muted. And I've got a few people on, what do you call it, co-host to watch that, so. Can you see that, Joan? I
Yeah,
am.
you can see it.
Thank you. I'm gonna large screen this and cross my fingers that it all works. And I won't be able to close all the boxes on the side because those are all the Zoom people. So let's go ahead and listen and apply oils and see how our body responds to this information, okay?
Trauma is so ubiquitous that if you think you've never seen it, You have not looked. We meet people who fly off the handle. We meet people who shut down. We meet people who are very difficult. You know, it is a rare family that doesn't have a drug addict, alcoholic, disturbed person. You know, one thing I like to say, they give a lecture, are there any normal people who come from normal families in the audience? And sometimes one or two people raise their hands, say, can I please come to your family for Thanksgiving? Because I've never been to a normal family. My name is Bessel van der Kolk. I'm a psychiatrist, neuroscientist. I have been studying trauma for about 50 years now. I've treated a whole variety of different traumatized populations, see trauma in many different countries around the world, and I am the author of the book, The Body Keeps the Score. It's important for people to realize that not every mental health professional knows what we're talking about here. The mainstream system of psychiatry, psychology is that there is something wrong with you and I need to fix you. That's a very different attitude than dealing with trauma. Around that time that I first started to work for the VA, a group of us started to define what trauma is and started to define what happens to people. 1978 was the year, and the Vietnam War was over by about 6 or 7 years. The very first day that I met Vietnam veterans, I was just blown away. They kept referring back to their dead comrades. Their hearts seemed to be with the people who were no longer around. They had a hard time loving their wives and girlfriends. They had a hard time being in any way meaningfully involved in the present. These were guys who were my age, who were smart and competent, but they clearly were just a shadow of their former self. And what was also really striking is they were sort of passive much of the time, and then people told them something that was disappointing, and they went from 0 to 10 and blew up and became extremely angry. Something seemed to have happened to them that made it very hard for them to modulate their responses to the environment. My colleagues and I started to think about how is what these guys suffer from different from what other people who are in psychiatry textbooks suffer from. So I dug up a book that was written in 1941 by Abram Gardner, who had been working with World War soldiers. He writes, these guys suffer from a physioneurosis. Their bodies continue to re-experience that very terrible, frightening situation. And that event keeps coming back in terms of images, behaviors, and physical sensations. So that became at the core of our definition of PTSD. We write, these people have been exposed to an extraordinary event that's outside of normal human experience. And in retrospect, that shows us how ignorant and narrow-minded we were, because it turned out that this is not an unusual experience at all. Trauma is actually, unlike what we first thought, extremely common. 1 out of 5 women in America has a history of sexual molestation. Even a lot of men have histories of sexual molestation. 1 out of 4 kids get beaten very hard by their parents. 1 out of 8 kids see physical fights between their parents. People usually think about the military when they talk about trauma. But when we started to work with inner city kids, the amount of trauma that these kids experience was just unspeakable. The nature of trauma is that an experience enters into your ears, into your skin, into your eyes, and it goes down into a very primitive part of your brain that automatically interprets what's going on. Is this dangerous or is this safe? An event becomes traumatic when there is nothing you can do to stave off the inevitable, and your body starts automatically going to a state of fight, flight, or collapse. The lingering effect of trauma is that you continue to react to mild stressors as if your life is in danger. And so You tend to become hyper reactive. Somebody may irritate you in the supermarket. You may develop road rage. You may have a difficult time putting up with misbehavior from your spouse or your kids. And most people actually are barely aware or not aware at all that their reactions that they're having right now are actually rooted in experiences they have had before. That event itself is over, but you continue to react to things as if you're in danger. So the big challenge of treating trauma is how do we help people to live in bodies that feel fundamentally safe? The tradition in mental health is to dismiss the reality of people's lives. For example, it's only in the past few years that people are beginning to talk about the impact of poverty or the impact of racism or the impact of unemployment. And people have sort of been labeling people, oh, there's something wrong with you, let me fix you. But if you go to a physician or a mental health practitioner who doesn't understand that, they're going to try to fix you with drugs or cognitive behavioral treatment to not do these crazy things anymore. It usually doesn't work very well. But what's very clear is that being in a relationship where people can hear you, where you can talk about how badly you feel, where you can talk about your guilt, and where you can start opening up where these feelings come from, how old these feelings are, and how you develop these feelings in response to particular things that happen to you, that was actually quite helpful. Because you need to really develop a deep sense of this is what happened to me. This is what I'm dealing with. And I need to take care of the wounds that I'm carrying inside of myself. This issue of self-compassion and really knowing that your reactions are understandable and are rooted in you getting stuck in the past is a terribly important part of beginning to recover from trauma. Most of us are survivors of one thing or another, some much worse than others. And so if people say, what do you wish your legacy were? They say, I want our society to know about trauma and to really do all the things that are necessary so that people who grow up under extreme adverse conditions can develop a brain and a mind that can help them to become full-fledged members of society. That's our big issue. And that's the big challenge that we have.
Okay, so let me stop share. So that was an incredibly powerful video. Again, his book, The Body Keeps the Score, is available on Amazon if you care to read it or research him online, okay? A key takeaways for me out of that video was how to connect, how important it is to connect with our body. Notice the symptoms that are taking place as we are in reaction mode. Also, the feeling of being safe, the fundamental feeling of being safe in this world, in your home, within your community is also important. And then slowing down enough to show self-compassion is some of the things that I took away from that video. But now let's jump into the most widely used essential oils for PTSD, right? Because you have a lot in your home to work with. The first that comes up always is usually lavender. And lavender is known for all things calming, right? But there's also bergamot, citrus oils, green mandarin, rose, the chamomile family. There are multiple studies that show chamomile can be used as an antidepressive, an anti-anxiety, because of the anti-anxiety qualities. So Roman, Moroccan, German chamomile are all helpful. Ylang ylang, clary sage, frankincense, sandalwood, vetiver are some that are listed on popular websites. There may be others that have helped you. Please share that in the chat. One of the most common ones that I turn to and carry around with me at all times is adaptive, right? Both the roller as well as the 15 ml. So I could put some in my diffuser in my car, but there are many, many different essential oils that can help us. You can use these essential oils to target the exact symptoms that you're experiencing at the moment when PTSD comes up. So if you need something to calm your body, you might take a few drops of frankincense and copaiba sublingual and apply lavender all over your chest. If you need something that's going to help you release emotions, you could turn to some of the stronger, more powerful oils. You could put them on your pinky toe or the outside edge of your foot and ankle. As you do grounding, try to do some tapping and help your body release the emotions that were connected to the event that's causing it. If you want to reduce cortisol levels, apply essential oils to your adrenal glands. If you want to improve sleep, we've talked about this in other classes. If you want to help create a better rhythm in your circadian sleep rhythm, there's oils to help you do that. Of course, I am going to drop a link in the chat. Let me see if I can do that now. That is a really interesting article on how to use different blends or make your own blends to help deal with PTSD. So if you want to tap on that, you could have that as a reference to look at later. Now, in addition to our oils, we also offer many supplements like our adaptive soft gels, copaiba, DDR prime, and other things, right? Our entire emotional aromatherapy kit is very powerful for people. Just the name of the oil can sometimes help you switch your mind and gears and then help your body release. All of our blends like Balance, Citrus Bliss, Serenity, and Beautiful are available. So you really have to try to find what works best for you because we're all different and we are all experiencing different emotions and we all need different oils at different times. Now we have many products to use along with other modalities that we often talk about here. Some of us are chiropractors, acupuncturists, biomagnetic treatments help, massage therapy. A new one that I'm learning about is called EMDR therapy. EMDR is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It works directly with the brain and the way memories, thoughts, and feelings and body sensations are stored. So any trauma survivor really would tell you that healing from PTSD naturally takes dedication, endurance, patience, and time. So as you've seen here, there are many natural remedies that we can use to help us, right? But if you found that your trauma symptoms are impacting your capacity to deal and function on a daily basis, then it may be time to seek professional help. They'll run you through a few diagnostic tests and they'll find an approach out of all treatment options that work best for you and your needs. I think the thing to remember most is that post-traumatic stress disorder is not a condition that can be cured per se. With effective coping strategies, therapy, and natural remedies like we have at our disposal that we've already talked about, we'll be more capable of anticipating and managing our PTSD symptoms in a way that will allow us to take back control over our lives. And ultimately, that's where we want to end up, right? So, recovering from post traumatic stress disorder is a process that takes time. But just know that you are not alone. There are resources and there is hope. In the short amount of time today that we've had, I can't share everything, but please feel free to reach out to me via Instagram or text message. I have more books, websites, Instagram accounts, even therapists to refer out to if you need that type of help. We could have an in-depth conversation and get you the right resources that will help you deal with PTSD. So we're going to wrap it up because we're at our time. Of course, we can speak about this subject for at least an hour, right? But I'm going to open it up for comments, thoughts, and questions now. Anyone want to share? Go ahead, Joan.
Okay, yeah, you mentioned rape earlier, and part of something that okay, so I loved everything that that doctor was sharing with us, but how do you make that usable? How we make that usable is to stop telling our story. Because let's say, you know, we have been raped and we are telling someone about our experience, or we've been mugged, or whatever the situation is. There's that's an extreme example, right? But we've been through this experience and we are recounting it for this person of what it looked like, what it smelled like, what you were doing, how you felt, and you're kind of reliving it for them. And we're having these memories come in of that experience. On a cellular level, our body doesn't know that it's not happening again. So we believe on a cellular level, our body believes we are in danger again. This is happening again. Even though you know you're telling a story to someone, you are going into fight or flight, into that sympathetic nervous system. So we have to be very careful not to recount our stories to others and to ourselves. So when we are starting to say, okay, this happened or that happened, and here's why I'm feeling like this, to recount it, we have to stop. We have to physically stop. You mentioned grounding, getting outside, sometimes changing our environment, moving from one room to another. If we're sitting on the couch, go into the bedroom, go outside, go somewhere else, change your environment, change who you're around, what you're around, take a drink of water, do something to try and reset so that we cut off that connection that we have with the past, because that's when we're triggered and we end up in fight or flight freeze again. And so that's just important that we try and cut that off. Don't retell the story. Don't retell it to yourself or to other people. Yes, I've had this experience, but you're not going to go into detail with people because you will relive it every time you do that.
Yes, in some of his other YouTube videos, he does explain how to process it to the point where it's different lingo when you talk about it. Because, like she said, you don't want to retell your story so that you relive it. But at some point in your healing process, you're going to be able to look back and tell it in a different way, because it is something that made you the kind of person that you are. But it's not to the point where you're taking your body, your life, your feelings, your emotions to that same event and reliving it. So language is very important when you're telling your story. Who you tell it to is important. Don't tell it to everybody to relive it. There's pros and cons to that, right? So I appreciate you bringing up that point. I had somebody text me a thought, but anybody else here want to share? Okay, yeah, no, she's not going to be able to join. Anyone else here have? Okay. All righty. So that is it. Again, if you feel the need to get more resources or talk about this more, or if you'd like us to repeat this class with other helpful steps in June, July, August, then just reach out and let me know, okay? Because I think so many people can benefit from using our oils to help deal with post-traumatic stress disorder. So our raffle is going to take place, but before that, I have a few announcements. There is an event in San Antonio tomorrow being given by Jenny Garcia. If you're in the area, please reach out for the link to register. It's a hands-on experience, reclaim your health, and we'd like to support her. So as of June, this is my next announcement. As of June, I will not be doing a raffle at the end of the Zoom. It's simply too expensive, and I've got to change up the way I'm doing business. So another change that I'm making to our Friday Zooms is that we are going to have one guest speaker every single month. I'm pulling from other teams, upline, downline, cross leg, okay? And then the third thing we're going to change about Friday Zooms is the last Friday of every month, we're going to have a business training. For those of you who are interested in sharing doTERRA, in building a business, or for those of you who have been around a long time and are stuck, that is going to be our time, 30 minutes to an hour to discuss doTERRA's business. So watch my Instagram account for those invitations. Next week, Friday, is going to be our first time to do a business training. So please feel free to show up, learn a little bit about that if you want. Okay? Okay, so today I am sharing a big bottle of Citrus Bliss. Let's go ahead and see who is going to win that. Joan, give me a number between 1 and 17, please.
Let's go 15.
Okay, and the winner is Cheryl H. Congratulations, Cheryl. Where are you joining us from and who invited you? So I can know.
Cheryl Hill lives in Modesto. She was invited by Lynn.
Yes. Thank you for the gift. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'll get your address from Lynn and I will mail that out to you. Okay.
Thank you.
So that wraps it up for today. Thank you for joining me again on another Friday. We do have a few things to discuss after I press stop record, but have a great weekend and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.